demonstrate our firm commitment to ensure our national security capabilities are kept abreast with the highest global standards.
President Buhari launches renewed fight against cybercrime as he inaugurates counter-terrorism center. "24 governors-elect smile, 4 await fate. No move to distort Abia governorship results, INEC assures." Plus, CBN increases interest rates to 18% amidst cash crunch.
I can't imagine me doing transactions and I cannot have cash to do the transactions.
Hello and a warm welcome to NTA Network News at 9. I'm Ian Ray John and we're live in Abuja. Adeola Komiokere joins me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. A new presidential order aimed at protecting the nation's cyberspace from all forms of intrusion will soon be endorsed by President Muhammadu Buhari. This is to effectively synchronize efforts of Nigeria's security and law enforcement agencies towards addressing the numerous security challenges bedeviling the country. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this while inaugurating new offices of the National Security Advisor and National Counter-Terrorism Center. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Described as pride of the nation and a worthy legacy of the Buhari administration, the new state-of-the-art national security infrastructure was designed and constructed in 3 years by the Office of the National Security Advisor. The high-tech facilities are aimed at enhancing the nation's strategic response to a broad range of current and emerging security concerns, especially terrorism and violent extremism. The National Security Advisor, Babagana Munguno, guided President Buhari on tour of the world-class security infrastructure, including forensic laboratories and National Crisis Center. The facilities, he said, will further enhance Nigeria's already recognized contribution to global counterterrorism policy and practice efforts, as well as give impetus to the country's internal, bilateral, and multilateral cooperation and collaboration in tackling the menace of terrorism and violent extremism.
The conceptualization, design, and development of the new offices of the National Security Advisor and the National Counter-Terrorism Center were based on Mr. President's vision of ensuring a robust national security enterprise for our country. It is my great pleasure to thank you, Mr. President, for the enormous support and confidence you have reposed in me to fulfill these projects as part of the numerous legacies of your administration.
The United Nations' new agenda for peace focuses on holistic and comprehensive approaches to building societies in which terror has no home. It is our understanding that the National Counterterrorism Center aligns with this overall peace-building agenda, and that its functionality and success will contribute to further strengthening and supporting the peace architecture in this country.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who commended the National Security Advisor for what he called the noble achievement, expressed confidence that the facilities provided will optimize efforts at addressing the newly evolving security challenges towards achieving the desired peaceful and secure environment for the country.
This commissioning is coming as we are gradually winding down this administration. It will therefore serve as a major legacy to provide the incoming administration with the state-of-the-art infrastructure to effectively coordinate our national security and counter-terrorism efforts. Most importantly, this will demonstrate our firm commitment to ensure our national security capabilities are kept abreast with the highest global standards.
The president, who used the opportunity to highlight the gains recorded by his administration in improving national security, was emphatic that the promise made on coming to power in 2015 has been largely delivered.
I can confidently state here today that we have achieved significant milestones in degrading the major threats and restoring normalcy to most of the hitherto securitized areas in the northeast. The government has also curbed the series of armed banditry and kidnapping cases in the northwest and north central zones, which emerged as a result of the scattering of Boko Haram in the northeast and the implosion of Libya in the Maghreb.
He also described as pleasing that key threats within Nigeria's maritime domain, such as piracy and sea robbery, are being tackled, with over 87 oil tankers involved in various crude oil theft arrested. President Buhari is, however, worried over the dynamic nature of cyber threats with the increasing digitalization of the economy, and promised to endorse a new presidential order towards effectively protecting Nigeria's cyberspace from all forms of intrusion. In Abuja, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered that one Tukuru Mamu, an alleged negotiator for terrorists, should be remanded in the custody of Department of State Services pending determination of his bail application. The presiding judge, Justice Enyak Eko, gave the order when the defendant was arraigned this Tuesday. Olabode Arewa reports.
Tukuru Mamu, an alleged publisher of a magazine, was arrested in Cairo, Egypt on September 6, 2022 and repatriated to Nigeria. He had been on the watch list of the DSS over his alleged involvement in negotiating ransom on behalf of terrorist groups and allegedly facilitating the release of kidnapped victims. He was arraigned before Justice Enyak Eko on a 10-count charge of alleged terrorism financing. The prosecution said various sums of foreign and local currencies were recovered from his Kaduna residence as proceeds of the alleged crime. On arraignment, Tukuru Mamu pleaded not guilty when the 10 counts were read to him, while his defense counsel prayed for his bail, arguing that Tukuru Mamu urgently requires serious medical care. Counsel for the prosecution opposed the application, saying Nigerian hospitals were adequate to treat whatever ailment Tukuru Mamu may be going through. The court thereafter adjourned to a date to be communicated to the parties for ruling on the bail application and for trial.
We have filed an application for his bail. We have argued all that matters. He's not been arraigned for capital offenses, and the law is very clear.
Tukuru Mamu was arraigned under the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
And away from terrorism issues, after the March 18th governorship and state assembly elections nationwide, 4 states still await the final collation as elections were declared inconclusive in 2 states, while another 2 had the exercise put on hold. Salihu Gwanara in this report highlights the exercise, which has so far produced 24 state governors out of the 28 states on the schedule.
The 2023 general elections came with a mixed bag of anxiety and expectation from the citizens and the political class. It showcased a series of contests in which 18 political parties actively participated. Many described the process as not only competitive, but a veritable testing ground for the nation's democratic maturity.
Those who partake in the exercise at the governorship, state assembly election level, they had played to a very large extent by the rules of the game. There were less violence, there were less ballot snatching, except for a few incidents that you cannot rule out.
In the past, we've seen a situation whereby the sitting government, the incumbents, always have the final say. But this time around, the electorates, their vote really counts.
March 18 proved to be another remarkable day in the nation's political history. On this day, for the 7th time, Nigerian voters through the ballot took the decision to elect governors and members of the state houses of assembly for another 4 years, in line with the nation's maximum of 2 terms system. Some incumbents have been elected for a second term to complete 8 years in office, except in the 8 states where off-cycle elections will hold at a later date. The exercise took place in 28 states, even though winners are still being expected in Kebbi and Adamawa states, where the exercise has been declared inconclusive, and in Abia and Enugu states, where the process have been put on hold by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Only the governing All Progressives Congress, the main opposition People's Democratic Party, and the new Nigerian People's Party have so far gotten state government house occupancy in the 24 states where the exercise has been concluded.
And those people that they've emerged as our leader today, that they should just have pity upon us. The suffering in Nigeria is too much.
Let us do things right to justify our belief in the country. We owe a debt to this country. No other person that could put this country right other than us.
I don't know why there should be a struggle. As some of them that are privileged to enter, they should be able to rule well, so that what they keep on ground should be able to speak for them.
As at Tuesday, 21st March 2023, leading the winners table is the All Progressives Congress, having won in Cross River, Ebonyi, Gombe, Jigawa, Katsina, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Sokoto, Yobe, Benue, Borno, and Kaduna State, while the People's Democratic Party won in Akwa Ibom, Bauchi, Oyo, Plateau, Delta, Rivers, Taraba, and Zamfara State. The new Nigerian People's Party won in Kano, the state with highest voter turnout in the 2023 general elections. The position of many Nigerians is that politicians as key actors have a role in managing post-election activities by being in the forefront of processes that will engender unity and healing by exhibiting the true spirit of sportsmanship in the interest of the nation's democracy. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has denounced an online report accusing its chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, of attempts to violate its guidelines and consequently distort the governorship election result in Abia State. Chief Press Secretary to the INEC chairman, Rotimi Oyekomi, in a statement notes that the only communication sent to the state returning officer was the commission's directive suspending further collation of results. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, never called the returning officer to give her a directive. Rather, the returning officer wanted the official communication on the commission's decision to suspend the collation of results in Abia State. The chairman then directed that, pending the delivery of the hard copies, the soft copies of the commission's letter be forwarded immediately to the resident electoral commissioner of Enugu State and the administrative secretary of Abia State. The statement added. In the same vein, President Muhammadu Buhari says given the non-interference in the conduct of the free and fair 2023 elections, Nigerians have proved to be capable of deciding who leads them. Speaking at a farewell audience with the outgoing U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, the president expressed satisfaction with remarkable passion exhibited by Nigerians through the choices they made, saying Nigeria's democracy has truly matured. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu feeds us.
President Muhammadu Buhari said although he is unhappy that some candidates lost in the just concluded elections, it is however inspiring that people now realizing their power were able to freely make their own decisions. With the inadequate cash flow as a result of the currency change, the electorate, he said, voted conscientiously. President Buhari told the outgoing U.S. envoy that he is completely satisfied with his own role in the election process, as there was neither meddlesome nor any form of interference. The American ambassador, Mary Beth Leonard, said she is happy with the progress made in Nigeria-U.S. relations, especially the recent institution of a 5-year visa regime between the two countries, active collaboration in security and the supply of military hardware, including warplanes and soon-to-come fighter helicopters, as well as the cooperation in the health sector. She expressed her gratitude and that of the United States government in the continuing role of the president in ensuring regional security and strengthening of democracy as a system of government, citing his strong response against the recent surge in coup d'etat in West Africa as worthy of commendation. She expressed the hope that even as he is preparing to leave, there are still a few more things the president could do, amongst which she mentioned the urgent need to remove fuel subsidy. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The United States has expressed concern about the acts of violence and voter intimidation in the just concluded 2023 governorship and state houses of assembly elections. The U.S. government, in a press statement issued this Tuesday, called on Nigerian authorities to hold accountable and bring to justice any individual found to have ordered or carried out efforts to intimidate voters and suppress voting during the election process. The United States said it will consider all available actions, including additional visa restrictions on individuals believed to be responsible for or complicit in undermining the democratic process in Nigeria. The United States renews its call for any challenges to election results to go through established legal processes, which must not be interfered with. This is NTA Network News. More reports on the just concluded election after the break. Please stay. Welcome back. The House of Representatives says the amendments to the Electoral Act by the 9th National Assembly have been instrumental in improving Nigeria's electoral process through the use of technology for accreditation and transmission of results. Resuming plenary after the governorship and states assembly elections, House members were emphatic that an objective assessment of the 2023 elections showed remarkable improvement from the past. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
After each election cycle, gaps are identified and changes are initiated for improvements. It is with this line of thought that House members reconvened plenary, having put the amended Electoral Act to the major test. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila says a fair assessment may not suggest perfection of the process, but fair play is among acknowledgements that cannot be taken away from the entire process.
We need time and the deliberate efforts of political, religious, and social and economic leaders acting in recognition of the fact that while elections will come and go, our highest imperative remains the progress of Nigeria and the prosperity of her people.
The Speaker also expressed commitments of the legislature to pass the Electoral Offences Commission Establishment Bill for enforcement against violators as they undermine electoral and constitutional provisions. Political empowerment for women and other marginalized groups is another area of focus in the few months left for the 9th National Assembly.
National building is also a joint effort. Every significant advancement is the product of collaborative efforts by numerous people acting in different capacities.
Other features at plenary include first reading of 6 bills, while 2 other bills passed second reading. These include the bill to amend National Identity Management Commission.
Okay, Section 37 of the Principal Act is what we are amending. It's actually in operation by the executive. We're only giving it the legal backing.
The House adopted 2 resolutions, the first from Uyime Idem, calling for adoption of measures to curb train mishaps across the country.
In spite of these unfortunate trends, which are as a result of the carelessness of some individuals, no one has ever been held to account for the unfortunate loss of lives.
House member Muhammad Al-Ghali urges the rehabilitation of highways in Jos Plateau State. Meanwhile, the House Committee on Public Accounts has submitted a report on the bill seeking the establishment of an independent office of the Auditor General for the Federal Capital Territory Area Councils. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Red Chamber has applauded President Muhammadu Buhari for assenting to the 16 constitutional alteration bills, describing it as one of the major achievements of the 9th National Assembly. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko reports as Senate reconvenes after election break.
Senators are back to the chamber after the rescheduled governorship and state houses of assembly elections. President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan welcomed his colleagues and commended President Muhammadu Buhari for assenting to 16 constitutional alteration bills.
With the financial independence of state houses of assembly and state judiciary are very, very critical for the development of democracy in Nigeria. In fact, for good governance as well.
He explained that the National Assembly will constitute a committee that will liaise with the executive to find out why 19 other constitution amendment bills did not receive presidential assent.
Maybe there are a few explanations that could be made, and then they will be okay. And we will do that almost immediately because time is of essence. We shouldn't think that the time is too tight. I think even if it is one day that we have left, we should do our best. Where the issues are too much to handle, I think the next assembly, the 10th National Assembly, should be able to attend to such issues.
Senate received presidential requests for the confirmation of 7 nominees for appointment as members of the governing board of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, with Abdul Karim Mobalaji as chairman. The National Human Rights Commission Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute Bill, the Federal Medical Center Uli Anambra State Establishment Bill, and the Orthopedic Hospital Ihitu Boma Establishment Bill were passed. The Chief Whip of the Senate, Oji Uzo Kalu, has described the Electoral Act 2022 as a work in progress. He was speaking when he briefed Senate correspondents on the just concluded general elections across the country.
What I would like to see with my colleagues is for us to go for electronic voting, so that where people like in India, it might not be automatic by electricity, it might be manual. You just punch the button, so nobody is doing anything with paperwork.
The Senate Chief Whip also urged the ruling All Progressives Congress to zone the position of the President of the Senate to the southeast. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, has dissociated himself from a fake Twitter account being used to spread fake news and pass negative comments on the Adamawa and Zamfara governorship elections. Director of Information, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi, in a statement says Boss Mustafa's attention has been drawn to a fake Twitter handle bearing his name, which has been used to make unsavory comments on the governorship candidates of APC in Adamawa and Zamfara states. The SGF wishes to state categorically that he does not own or operate any Twitter handle by such username, and therefore calls on Nigerians to disregard negative comments made with such username on Twitter against the persons of the governor of Zamfara State and the governorship candidate of APC in Adamawa State. He finds it mischievous for any person to attach his name to a fake user account. The SGF therefore cautions Twitter users to always endeavor to verify Twitter handles before responding to posts of any sort. President Muhammadu Buhari rejoices with distinguished banker, economist and philanthropist Tony Elumelu on the 60th birthday, March 22, 2023, sharing joy and warmth of the occasion with the entrepreneur who was ranked amongst the world's 100 most influential personalities in 2020 by Time. President Buhari felicitates with Chairman of the United Bank of Africa, UBA Group, on the milestone, affirming the honor and pride that the benefactor has brought to Nigeria and Africa with his achievements, lighting the way for many to grow through inspiration, mentorship and training, with focus on raising generation of entrepreneurs. Now, looking at other issues, authorities in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia announced that the crescent moon that will signal the commencement of fasting has not been sighted this Tuesday. Subsequently, Ramadan, the first day of fasting in the kingdom, starts Thursday, 23rd of March, 2023. In Nigeria, the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs has asked Muslims to look for the new moon of Ramadan 1444 after Hijrah on Wednesday, 22nd of March, 2023. Sighting of the new moon to be reported through the numbers displayed on the screen for onward communication to the Sultan. Now, on the elections, President-elect Bola Tinubu says after Nigerian electorates have voted to elect their governors and state legislators that will serve them for the next 4 years, attention must now be directed towards proper leadership and governance. On a statement, the president-elect says as the elected, the only way to justify the trust and confidence of the people and the mandate entrusted in them is to commit to the service of the people. He also expresses readiness to work with all the elected state governors as president promising to be a worthy partner they can trust and rely on as we all bond together in unity of purpose and renewed hope for the betterment of the country and her people. The president-elect, however, expresses sadness over the reported isolated infractions during the elections and its aftermath in some states, saying the report of arson after the announcement of governorship results in one state did not represent who Nigerians truly are as peace-loving people. President-elect commended President Muhammadu Buhari, INEC, security agencies, observer groups, civil society organizations, development partners, and the electorate for the success of the elections, which he said is pivotal to the growth and sustenance of democracy and democratic governance. Now, time to join Lagos, where Adiola is standing by for more news. Adiola, it's over to you.
Thank you, Yere. 11 suspects arrested for alleged electoral and criminal offences during the just concluded 2023 general elections are to be prosecuted in Lagos State. They are among the 19 suspects paraded by the police at the State Criminal Investigation Department, Panti Yaba, Lagos. Adeni Taiwo reports.
24 cases of electoral and criminal infractions were recorded during the second round of elections in Lagos on March 18. Of the number, 3 male suspects arrested in Ibeshe, Badagry, and Oworonshoki are to be handed over to INEC for prosecution for breaching provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, while 2 others were nabbed for criminal acts, including unlawful possession of fake electoral materials. Parading the suspect at the State CID, Panti Yaba, Police Public Relations Officer Benjamin Ondein says exhibits, including PVCs, ballot papers, and boxes, were recovered from many of them.
We're taking them to the force headquarters, Abuja, following the instruction of the Inspector General of Police. All state commands will do likewise, and centrally at the headquarters, they will be handed over to INEC.
5 other suspects earlier arrested during the presidential and National Assembly elections bring the total number of violators to be handed over to INEC to 8, while a criminal suspect, Adama Shaun Kabiru, apprehended for being in unlawful possession of firearms during the first round of elections, will also face criminal prosecution from the police. The police spokesman also assured that the command is investigating viral videos of some people who reportedly threatened voters in the build-up to governorship election in the state.
All over the social media, we've been seeing old videos being brought up again and lies being peddled that some people have been attacked.
Meanwhile, 13 other suspected criminals were paraded for offences ranging from armed robbery, cultism, communal clash to armed robbery. The PPRO advised mobile phone users to be steps ahead of phone robbers by putting SIM lock on their SIM cards in order to prevent illegal transactions on their bank accounts. In Lagos, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
Lagos High Court, sitting at Tafawa Balewa Square Annex, has granted the bail application of Dr. Ejike Oji, who is serving 1-year jail term for causing bodily harm to his patient through negligence and criminal breach of duty. The post-conviction bail application was granted in the sum of 2 million naira with 2 sureties and presentation of the record of appeal filed by the defendant at the appeal court. Joel Popola has that report.
Dr. Ejike Oji was sentenced to 1-year imprisonment by the Lagos High Court on January 20, 2023 after he was found guilty on 4 out of the 6 count charges bordering on medical negligence and misconduct, which left his patient with a devastating condition that required more than 15 surgeries in Nigeria and United States of America to save his leg from amputation. Dissatisfied with the ruling, Dr. Oji filed an appeal on the 27th of January 2023, asking the appeal court to set aside the judgment of the High Court pending the hearing and determination of his appeal. Justice Eberunke Arinsin in her ruling said the medical claims of hypertension and adrenal tumor the applicant is using to buttress his bail application lacks merit. Counsel to the defendant Ajibola Ariba, however, urged the court to consider the fact that the appeal court is already saturated with appeals, and being an election year, the defendant may complete his sentence before his appeal is determined. Justice Harrison granted the bail application on this ground. Tunde Sumonu from the Department of Public Prosecution, Lagos State, had earlier opposed the bail application in previous hearing. The patient's father, Mr. Isioma Ezeashi, says his only son has been through harrowing experiences and therefore wants justice.
I've now turned to be the bad guy because I'm pursuing justice for my son. People are calling me, making all sorts of vile threats to me, which doesn't bother me.
While the legal tussle continues, Mr. Ezeashi says it is important to pursue it to a logical conclusion to prevent a reoccurrence of such agony.
This is a young boy of 16. It has changed the course of his life. We're talking of a man who is above 65, and people are talking about bail. What of a boy who is 16, who hasn't even started his life, who has barely used one leg now?
Mr. Ezeashi is taking solace in God for keeping his son alive despite all the travails. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
And that's it from Lagos. Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. The news will continue after this time out with Inyere in Abuja again. To stay.
Welcome back. Calls for unity and peaceful coexistence among Nigerians of different ethnicities, political leanings and groupings have even now become more imperative as tensions subsist in parts of the country over the March 18 governorship election. These words, "There is only one country, one Nigeria and one people," have become the rallying call for those who believe the general elections are a test of the people's faith in Nigeria's collective destiny, and that the country will ultimately overcome if the people pull together at this point in time. Elizabeth Omori tells us more.
The general elections have come, but maybe not all done yet, with complications of results suspended in few states and declared inconclusive in at least one. And as much as these round of elections have been interesting, they have also given rise to concerns, mostly tethering on Nigeria's unity.
The winners and losers of the elections should be able to put also themselves together to realize that the peace and unity of this country is far greater than the ambition of any individual. And people, and also they should also know that people are now at least a little bit much more politically aware than ever.
While elections are also considered a robust arena of varying opinions, analysts are often quick to point out that the idea is to engender an atmosphere that ensures development. And though the outcomes of elections are as important as the processes that lead to them, the ultimate gainers are often said to be the people, Nigerians in this instance.
We have to unite ourselves as one people, irrespective of our ethnic differences, religious differences. We should rise above hate.
In spite of the festering tension in some parts of the country, the last round of elections have also seen good signs of sportsmanship. In Niger State, for instance, some of those who contested and lost in the governorship election already conceded and congratulated the winner. Many say, in a country where public good is uppermost, elections can never be a winner takes it all, as the people would always be the winner. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Now, looking at the economy, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says Nigerian banks remain strong and resilient, and none is affected by the banking crisis that has led to the collapse of banks in Europe and America. The Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, at the Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja, said this, as well as announced hike in interest rate to 18%. Musa Abubakar reports.
In the domestic economy,
this is the second consecutive time this year that the Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN had voted to increase interest rate from 17.5% to 18%. Considering its various decisions in increasing monetary policy rate, which had led to deceleration in inflation. The committee observed that headline inflation remained high with increased expectation of price development due to scarcity of petrol and ongoing discourse around removal of fuel subsidy, amongst other factors. This informed the decision to further increase the rate.
While output growth remains on a positive trajectory, members call for increased monetary and fiscal coordination to support the recovery in the light of risks confronting the domestic economy. To this end, committee enjoined fiscal authority to explore other avenues to improve non-oil revenue to reduce the fiscal deficit and public debt.
The governor assured the public that Nigerian banks have adequate buffers to ward off global contagion caused by bank failures.
The financial stability indicators in Nigeria show that the Nigerian banking system remains resilient due largely to the stringent prudential guidelines put in place by the CBN, which has resulted in a strong buildup of not only the cash reserve ratio deposit in Nigeria, but also liquidity ratio and capital adequacy ratios.
The committee said that more than 900 billion naira is the available money in circulation, while it continues to increase the supply of the newly redesigned naira notes. Cash reserve ratio is retained at 32.5%, liquidity ratio at 30%, and asymmetric corridor at plus 100 and minus 700 basis points around the MPR. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
Meanwhile, despite recirculation of the old naira notes by banks to ease shortage of money supply, the cash crunch experienced in Abuja still persists. Now, let's join our business correspondent, Poside Ebo, for an update on cash availability.
For this senior citizen, the constant loan queues at the bank is unacceptable, which, according to him, has posed health challenge for him in obtaining cash to fend for his family.
I can't imagine me doing transactions and I cannot have cash to do the transactions. And they tell us over the news that old currency is now about over 200 people have entered, coming out without nothing. Without nothing. It's disgusting. It's appalling.
Since morning number 90, for more than 2 hours they've not called to call, and they are smuggling in their people inside. So it's not fair. In fact, it has not been easy. Since morning 5 a.m. I've been here. We don't have access to the bank. You can see everybody outside. So it's so uncalled for. Government should do something about it, please.
So people will be sick. Doctors will not collect transfer. Even the transfer, the network is not going. They cannot work on network for people to live a better life. They are saying cashless economy. People send money, their money will be hanging. Some persons now, they don't know where their money is. You go to the bank will tell you that their money is not there. And the money is not in your account, then who is holding the money?
These aggrieved citizens are calling on government and bank authorities to avert further damage as well as prefer workable solutions to the financial strain. Cecilia Julius, NTA News.
That report was by Cecilia, not Poside Ebo, as earlier mentioned. Let's now have Benny Adams with more business reports. Benny.
Thank you and welcome to business. Ahead of Nigeria's participation in the African continental market, stakeholders say validating and adopting pragmatic policies and approaches to overcome obstacles in order to reap the benefits of the global market is the way to go. They are assessing the current situation of services like communications, transport, postal and courier services, retail and distribution. Others are environmental health, financial education services, tourism and recreational services, with a view to positioning the above for better returns on investment.
Services that you can consume abroad, like tourism, you have to travel abroad. There are some services that you can export through commercial presence, like a Nigerian bank establishing in Ghana. Or there are some services that are just cross-border, or this telecommunication, just make a phone call.
The services sector is increasingly an enabler for the export, for the development of the manufacturing sector.
According to the World Bank, since 1990, the economic growth underpinned by better trade policies and practices has lifted more than 1 billion people out of poverty.
And to the markets, equities market sees first gain this week amid the NPR hike, rising by 0.03%. At the end of today's trading session, a total of 127.7 million shares in 2,987 deals, corresponding to a market value of 1.586 billion naira, were traded. Compared with the previous trading day, Monday, today's data shows 89% decline in volume, 45% decline in turnover, and 3% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 29.9 trillion naira. United Bank for Africa recorded the highest volume of 19.6 million traded shares, followed by Transcorp Nigeria 14.4 million and Fidelity Bank 12.7 million shares. Well, that is business news, but network news continues after this break.
Glad to have you back. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the exemption of digital economy sector from 5% excise duty. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Issa Pantami, who gave the cheering news, says this will boost activities in the telecom industry. Chimdema Ndubezi will tell us more.
41 categories of taxes, levies and charges, some by the federal government, others state government. These are the financial obligations telecommunication operators in Nigeria have been living up to. So, 105% excise duty was proposed to be introduced on both prepaid and postpaid telecom services. It was quite challenging for the industry. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy also rose to defend his turf, and on September 5th, 2022, imposition of the duty was suspended. So, a presidential review committee was set up to study the situation and advise the president accordingly.
I am glad to say and to report to Nigerians that His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has approved the exemption of the digital economy sector from the 5% excise duty to be paid.
The cost of data now has come down further to 335 naira. We have an additional one undersea cable that has landed. Bringing, additional data into the country.
With this, owners of micro and small business enterprises such as Grace, who rely on the ICT sector for survival, will have a breather, knowing that they will not bear the brunt of the proposed tax. Nigerians are to report mobile network operators charging exorbitant prices for data. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Goods worth millions of naira this Tuesday were destroyed following a fire disaster at a section of the main market, Onitsha. Information from traders revealed that the fire started at the early hours and though no life was lost, several shops within the area were destroyed. Men of the fire service from neighboring Delta State intervened and put out the fire. Let's now have a bit of sports news. And that concludes NTA Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Please remember that rape is a crime. Speak up and take action. I'm Ian Ray John. Have a good night.